From Buffalo Wild Wings on 19th Avenue in Fargo, welcome to Benchwarmers. Today's featured guests are former Bison basketball standout Dexter Werner, former Bison wide receiver Trevor Gebhart, head football coach of Moorhead High School, Feeney, and our host, Midco Sports Network's Tom Neiman.
Hello, welcome again to Benchwarmers. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings in Fargo, North Dakota this week, right across the street from the Fargo Dome. Bison football practice getting underway. We'll talk about that a little bit, but we got so much Bison brain power here, it is ridiculous. And let's talk about this first of all, guys. Why North Dakota State for all of you? Kevin, coming out of Bismarck back in the 90s. Dex, your folks, I think, went to Minot State, did they not?
Yep.
Trev, disappointed your father, who's a South Dakota State guy. I know he supported you totally in your choice here. But Dex, start with that. Why did you choose North Dakota State to come here and play ball?
Well, I was actually born in Fargo, so I grew up here until second grade, and then I moved to Bismarck. And so I ended up having some options coming out of high school, and I always liked the idea of just being in front of my home state. I have a lot of family here on both sides, and so I just like the idea of being a little closer to home and having that kind of fan base already built in.
All right. Trev?
Big reason for me was culture. This place obviously has a tradition-rich winning history. And so when I was going through the recruiting process, I started to figure that out, that North Dakota State recruits obviously a talent, but after that they started to recruit the individual and their personality. And once I started meeting the guys that I saw that I'd be playing with for 4 years, I knew it was the right fit.
Ken, when you came out in the 90s, why come over?
You know, I was the last. I had two older brothers that played college football. One played at MSU Dragons, and then a brother that played up north at the University of North Dakota. And so I had planned on playing college football since the day I could remember. But this dates me, but I go back. My recruiting visit was the opening game of the Fargo Dome when Arden Beachy got injured against Pitt State. So it wasn't hard to figure out real fast that I wanted to be a part of something like that and that atmosphere. And like Trevor talked about, the culture was just about championships. And, you know, the coaching staff was incredible, the players, and it goes through. And I think these guys kind of lived it. They're a lot younger than I am here, but your next 20 years, you're going to spend a lot of time with your former teammates, a lot.
But yeah, the Fargo Dome was brand new when you were coming out. Basketball, the new arena and everything in the last couple of years. And everybody talks about facilities, and I've heard coaches say if guys are coming for the facilities, you've got problems. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be the culture, and it's got to be the coaches and the connections, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, there's certainly something deeper there. I mean, obviously coming up to Fargo, seeing the facilities back when I was playing. So my senior year of high school playing was 2009. The new weight room wasn't here. They didn't have the field turf. But the dome was still pretty cool to see. But once you start getting around camaraderie, and you just feel something a lot deeper than just, oh, here's a nice weight room or a coach. I mean, once you start to feel that and see that, it obviously attracts you to it.
And Coach Richmond, Coach Phillips did that the same.
I think just kind of touching on what he said about the culture is that that kids aren't coming here for that. Like, obviously, like, that's a nice added perk is having the new facilities, like the gym and stuff, but we're bringing kids here who want to be here for the right reason. They want to win and be part of a good culture like ours. And so, I think that wasn't really a big factor, but that was always kind of the joke as we moved into the shack. Coach Richmond always said that he was going to go shut the air off and take away, like, our TV in the locker room because we were getting too soft with all the nice amenities. But at the same time, for us to have a world-class facility over there, like the Fargo Dome, the new weight room, and the shack with all those courts and stuff, that's big time, too, for recruiting at the same, it's give and take. It's both.
Yeah.
I think the community, you just walk around town, you come on a recruiting visit and you get around the players and they sit and talk about, gosh, this is one of the greatest places to ever play college football. And you know what, I think you look back when I was here and it was Division II and you'd say, oh, it was pretty good. And then now that you get in the last few years and all of a sudden the rest of the country kind of gets to see what's been going on for a long, long time here in Fargo.
And even, in the D2 days, you guys were selling out the Fargo Dome when you played North Dakota. It's not like it just totally blew up in the Division I era. It was pretty good in Division II, wasn't it?
No, it was pretty good. At a lot of my days growing up, I was at Dakota Field, and I tell you what, that was a pretty neat venue to watch college football in too. And like I said, at those days of Division II football, it was some pretty good football, and there was a lot of really good football players. And I think, like I said, the tradition just kept rising and to what it is today. But that's a credit to so many people that are involved: the coaches, the players, the community. everybody just gets a hand in that part.
People always wonder about different eras. Could Lamar Gordon, some of those guys you played with, that great running back here in the D2 days, and yourself, could those guys transfer over and play today, you think?
I think so. I don't think there's any question. There was some tremendous football players here long before me and long after me, and whether they got a chance to play at the next level or not doesn't diminish what they were able to do while they were here and against the competition they were against.
Is there ever any jealousy about the football program and all the accolades that it's had here, Dex, coming from the basketball side? And the other question is, could you have played football coming out of high school?
Well, I mean, if you want to touch on the football thing, I think I definitely could have played. I remember during the spring of my senior year, I had already signed my letter of intent for basketball and everything, and once a week I'd be in gym class, and Coach Gibson would be like, "Dex, come here." He'd pull me in his office, and he would literally try to convince me to play college football. He was begging me to consider playing college football, and I always loved the round ball a little more. I just enjoyed it. But as far as the accolades, it's just cool to see the success, whether it's softball or football or basketball, to see just the school as a whole compete on the national level when we're in the state of North Dakota. That's not really expected, so it's been fun to be a part of it no matter what.
He's a closet all-conference punter, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Not many people mention that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Could throw the
We'd love
javelin,
to have
kick the
one of that.
football. You can do a lot of things coming out there. But, I mean, and it's the connections. You come back and you look at it 20 years later, and it's the people you meet and the connections. Trevor met his wife because of football. Dex got to play in the NCAA tournament, he's going to go overseas and play because of his college experience. And I think it just comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, these guys are seeing it right now. Everybody's in everybody's weddings that's the first phase of life once you leave college. And I think basically from there on out, it's, hey, when are you going to get together as teammates again? And with the beauty with the success that they've had, going back to, let's say, when they first went to Division I, you get to go to University of Minnesota and shoot, there'd be 20,000 ex-Bison, or current Bison fans there. And it was just a great time to get back together. And obviously all the trips to Frisco, it was always a lot of fun seeing everybody. And so that's going to be the big challenge, I think, for Coach Klein, and get us all back so we can do a big old reunion again down south.
All right, yeah, NDSU is going to be pretty good football again this year, by the way. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll talk some Moorhead High School football with Coach Feeney. Dexter going to Germany, leaving here in a couple of days to play pro ball over there. But when we come back, we're going to get some thoughts on a teammate of Kevin Feeney's at North Dakota State back in the day, Josh Anderson, our buddy. Was he a football player or not? And all of these guys have a connection in some way to Carson Wentz or the city of Bismarck. We'll talk about that. And Wentz as a high school basketball player. Did Dexter get the best of him in that sport? We'll talk about that when we come back.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers here in Fargo, North Dakota this week. And all of these guys have a connection in some way to either the city of Bismarck or Carson Wentz, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Trev, start with this. You caught passes from Brock Jensen and then Carson Wentz, both great quarterbacks in your days there. What was the difference between the two guys?
I'd say, both are competitors and winners. Bar none. There's no arguing that. I'd say the main difference is just their style of play. Brock, you could probably compare him to like a Tim Tebow. Carson, you can compare him to a number of different guys. I'd say the main difference as far as catching a ball from him. When Carson threw you a ball, it just felt easy catching it. I remember the first time when he came in as a rookie, he got this big, tall, 6'4", red-headed, lanky quarterback, and he just slings one in and you hit your hands, you're like, that felt different.
Really?
And so that's what I always tell people. So even back then, we knew he had something special. Obviously, he's a tremendous leader. I don't think that's any secret. But experiencing that in a locker room, he definitely elevates the whole team. And so having a guy like that to rally around, it's a pretty special deal. So what he's been able to do has not been surprising at all for the guys that have been in the locker room with him.
Did you throw a very catchable ball as a quarterback?
Mine were a lot more catchable because they were really soft compared to Carson's. I tell you what, he could throw a ball on a deep comeback, on a 14 to 16-yard comeback from the opposite hash mark. And when I saw that at the first couple practices, and people stay away from that throw, I think Carson embellished that throw and really, really wanted to make sure that people understood that ball could get thrown. in any time, and I think that's the beauty of a great quarterback is when he thinks he can put any ball in any situation, and he has that type of arm.
But even when you were watching him progress, you were coaching high school here in Fargo when he was playing at NDSU, and as you saw him progress even into his senior year, did you see it coming that he would be the number 2 pick?
You know what, I thought he'd be pretty good. Who knows about the number 2 overall pick, because sometimes it's hard to think that a kid from Fargo is going to be the number 2 overall pick, but that's the beauty of football where it is right now is if you're good enough, they find you. And Carson's preparation and his detailedness as far as how he goes about his business and making sure that he's ready mentally to prepare to play a football game is, I think, second to none from what I've been around.
All right, Dexter played against Carson Wentz in high school basketball, right? Was he a decent basketball player or not? That wasn't really his focus in high school, was it?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't have to point out that he's an athlete. You know, he was a great athlete and, like Trev said, great competitor. But I mean, he looked about how you would think he would for a guy who hadn't played basketball in, I think, 3-4 years. I think he maybe played as a freshman, but they ended up beating us in the state championship that year for basketball, and there's not a doubt in my mind that he was the X factor on that team, and not even just from like a basketball standpoint, but he brought like a toughness and just a leadership role to that basketball team, and that's what they were missing. I remember he even joined basketball late. He wasn't going to play, and they brought him in late, and he just brought a toughness and a leadership role to that. But the thing I always remember is we played them in our conference championship game too. So before we go to state, we played WDA, and I caught this ball like at half court. Like someone threw me a ball and I caught it, and I don't know what happened, but Carson must have blacked out for a second and just went to football and literally laid the wood on me and got teed up in a basketball game. Like I caught this ball and he just tried to grab it from me and plowed through me at half court. And so it was at that moment that I realized football is probably the right choice for him, and so I think it's working out pretty well for him.
Yeah,
but
he's doing all right. All right, one more story about somebody that a lot of us know, Josh Anderson, who's the head coach now at Dakota State, down in South Dakota. Played tight end, I think, when you guys were teammates at North Dakota State. Yeah. And he's always telling us what a football player he was. Was Josh Anderson a good football player?
Oh, a tremendous football player.
No.
Brother Anderson, yellow shirt. No, he was a great guy. He was a great teammate. Josh transferred in, and so anytime you have transfers, you never quite understand or quite know what brought them to Fargo. And Josh, it didn't take long for Josh to fit in. Anybody who knows Josh knows he can fit in almost any situation, any place, anytime.
But he had some physical skills.
He did. He could catch the rock and run a little bit.
Okay. All right, quick thought here on Moorhead High School football. Kevin Feeney in his 7th year. Coming up, first practice is next week.
A week from today.
You guys start playing games on August 31st. What's the quick outlook on the Spuds this year?
We'll be a young football team. Traditionally, we've been a very heavy senior-dominated football team, and it's a little bit smaller class than what we're accustomed to, but we really feel good about our incoming junior class. It's a very large class and a very talented class, and so we open up with Elk River. This is our 2nd year in a row opening up with the defending state champions, and we'll have a few growing pains. We understand that with the young bodies that we'll put out there, but we also do have some explosive players, and hopefully can get in the mix by the end of the season.
All right, it's time to get going, huh?
It's time.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Trevor Gebhardt's new job, which sounds exciting, and Dexter Werner's new job, I guess you could call that, going to play some pro basketball in Germany. Talk about that when we come back.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers. Former Bison wide receiver Trevor Gebhardt has a new job as of about a month and a half ago. What are you up to these days?
So I'm national account sales for a company called Europa Sports. It's a sports supplement nutrition company. So I have customers nationwide. So it's kind of nice. I'll be able to get to see different parts of the country. And right now, just working on a few sales pitches to take off here in a couple weeks. So,
all right. Yeah. Best of luck with that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, Dexter Werner has your first job out of college is going to be professional basketball. Tell us where you're going and when you get going.
So the team is called SSV Locomotive. They're in the city of Bernau. I got to work on my German pronunciation, but it's a northern suburb of Berlin, so that's where I'll be at mostly. I'll be back and forth out of the city there for some workouts, but Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to go see a part of the world. I've never been to Europe, and I get to keep playing basketball, which is a sport I love. You know, especially with my business degree. I keep telling people that I get to avoid that cubicle as long as possible. Like I get to avoid that desk job. So yeah, I head over there on the 18th on the 13th, and then we start playing right away on the 18th. So I'll get going in about a week and a half here.
Season runs like September through April or something like that, right?
Yep, September, and then late playoff run would be April or May.
Okay. A quote from the coach. I know you saw this, but this is Dexter's new coach. Glance gotten an unorthodox player. Did you hear this coming from the coach?
Yeah.
Which I think is your college ball. Unorthodox kind of describes it, but what do you think of that?
I mean, that's just kind of that's kind of the same like scouting report I've gotten a lot throughout my career. I mean, even my agent, he said, you know, if you were 6'7", 6'8", you would have 15, 20 offers to pick from in Europe. But he's like, you kind of got to go prove yourself for a year. He's like, are you okay with that? And I was like, that's fine. You know, I did that in college. I had to do the same thing, just being a little undersized coming out of high school. So, you know, I read that and it was funny because, you know, that's the same thing that I think probably Saul said in my press conference coming to NDSU, and that's the same thing that Mark Few said in our press conference after the Gonzaga game. And then to hear that from my first professional coach was kind of just a full circle thing, but at the same time it's working out. So.
And you will always have that from your sophomore year. Talk about the Gonzaga game in the NCAA tournament, 22 points. And I mean, I think you're pretty comfortable with that being a big part of your time at NDSU, right? Yeah,
and especially just for me going into that sophomore year, that was kind of, you know, after that game and seeing that I was able to translate kind of onto that higher level of basketball, that was kind of what kind of planted that seed in the back of my mind, was like, you know, maybe this could be something that could keep going and, you know, hopefully play professionally in a few years. Whereas you're grinding out that redshirt year and that freshman year and you're not seeing the court and you're thinking, you know, I'll probably never play basketball again after I'm done here at school. So yeah, that was kind of what springboarded into the professional career hopes and dreams.
Right. And how do you have to look at this as a job, going and playing professional basketball, right? Yep. So what do you look at? Maybe a 1-year deal and see how it goes, or you want to play for 5-6 years, or what's kind of the plan? Yeah, so it's different over there because pretty much everything's a 1-year deal. And if you're signing with a really good team and they really like you, it's maybe a 2-year deal. But basically, you're always trying to move on to bigger and better things. You know, there's always a better league, there's a better team. So I'm definitely glad with the starting spot, but you know, at the same time, it's a job. You know, guys get sent home in the blink of an eye, so you got to go prove yourself and keep proving that you belong there. All right. Best wishes.
Yeah, thank you.
It's going to go great. You guys NBA fans, by the way? Pay attention a little bit?
Basketball, yeah.
I got little kids, so we're big NBA fans in my house.
Our poll question coming up here in a couple of minutes is what recent free agent signee is going to have the biggest impact? Jimmy Butler with the Minnesota Timberwolves is one of those choices. So the poll question coming up in a bit. When we come back, though, our Winging It question of the week here at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back. Time for our Winging It question of the week. And for that, we go to Carla Metz. Carla?
Thanks, Tom. I'm here with Patrick Goulon from Wapaton, North Dakota. He's a North Dakota State graduate, as you can tell from his T-shirt. Of course, North Dakota State had some breaking news over the weekend, so he has a question about that for you.
Yeah, my question is, with the loss of Greg Menard, who's going to be the players that need to step up to fill his spot?
All right, thanks so much. Let's get the panel's thoughts.
All right, thank you for the question there, Patrick. And terrible news for North Dakota State here on Monday. Defensive end Greg Menard, the team announced that he has a knee injury and will miss the entire upcoming season. And on a 1 to 10, this is about a 9.9 as far as impact, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, you talk about a guy who's up for the Buck Buchanan Award. Yeah. I mean, preseason has definitely had a significant impact on the team. So you can't deny there's definitely have to be some adjustments to replace him. But North Dakota State's known for replacing guys over and over again.
Had to the last year, and they've always done it.
Yeah, and they got a couple guys. I mean, you got Caleb Butler, who I believe was a walk-on to start his career. I mean, he's a phenomenal football player. Definitely opened my eyes when he was a freshman my senior year. You got another guy like Stanley Jones, and you got a couple of red shirts that are going to have to step up. I mean, it's just the nature of the game. And I'll go back to an example. You had Grant Olson in 2013. I know it was later in the season, but that's another All-American guy, a leader on the field, off the field too. I mean, he's like a coach, and guys step up, and it's just the way of the football world. So
yeah, it's got to be a gutting thing right now to get past that here for the next couple of weeks or so.
You know, at least as a coach, you always got to look at the half full. You got to move forward. If a bad play happens, you don't have time to sit there and think it out. You know what? Right now, at the planning stages, at least you have time. It's not a mid-season, late-season injury where you're trying to get ready for a big game. So, unfortunate for Menard as a great player, but you know what? As coaches, they'll get them ready to play, and they'll put bodies out there that are productive.
All right, Bison looking forward to their opener here at home on September 2nd. When we come back, poll question of the week, NBA free agency. Who's going to have the biggest impact?
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers. Our poll question this week: which NBA player will have the biggest impact on their new team? These are the recent free agent signees, and 3/4 of the vote this week to Jimmy Butler for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and kind of to be expected around here. But what would your kids say?
Gordon Hayward, we're all Celt fans at our house.
Gordon Hayward to Boston.
Although the T-Wolves got a soft spot in our heart too, and so we're excited about Jimmy Butler coming to Minnesota.
All right. And favorite NBA team, Dex?
I'm a big LeBron guy, so I've been following him. I know you guys might not agree with that, but I'm gonna go with Gordon to the Celtics as well, just because he's with his coach, and you know all these teams in the West are loading up, and then the West is tough. So I'm going with those guys in the East. You know that there's a lot of games to be won over there, so I think those guys will have a good team.
You might be right on that. They're talking about the Timberwolves winning 52 games this year. We'll see about that.
Get your season tickets now.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it, Dex. Best of luck.
Tink you.
In the career in Germany. Good luck in the new gig. Have a great new season this year at Moorhead. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week in Brookings on Benchwarmers.